Welcome to the Positive Spiritual Living Podcast, brought to you by Unity on the Bay. This is your positive path for spiritual living.
Right? Well, letting go and letting God. I've heard that my whole life, right? I grew up in Catholic schools where it was sort of like the saying of the year, or when they gave us little Bibles. And it was only when I came to Unity for the first time, really, that I started to realize what it actually implied to let go and let God. Because it's not for me at least, it's not a let go, let God, and just sort of like get it out of your mind, right? Because a lot of times, how many of you have been in that place where you've let go and let God, but then there's a little trigger, and it's like, oh, wait, I hadn't let that go at all. What happened, God? I thought you were going to take care of it, right? How many of you have been there before? Right, because the letting go, sometimes we just think it's like that simple, just throw it to the side thing. And for me, what I've come to realize is that there's some work to be done within that there is some responsibility that I have to working it so that then I am more fully open to allowing God to express itself, to show up through me in whatever situation that it may be. Now, my goodness, the year is almost over. We only have a few more hours, before the new year begins. And so it's a really powerful time to be in the question of what it is that we want to release, what it is that we want to let go of as something new is emerging, is coming in the horizon. I love what Craig Lungsbro says about this time of year. He says, the priceless lesson in the new year is that endings birth beginnings, and beginnings birth endings. And in this elegantly choreographed dance of life, neither ever find an end in the other. See, there's this beautiful little dance of the new year coming up and us releasing the old year, but also in our releasing of the old year, being open to the new beginnings and the new year. And so they go hand in hand, and it's an opportunity for us to look at what we're really willing to release and let go so something new can come in its place, and also have the vision of what it is that we want, right, to experience more of. So that's why for me, it's not only about sort of letting it all go and releasing, but really sitting with, well, wait a minute, what is it that I want to embody more fully? What is the vision that I have for my life? And then from that place of being pulled by that vision and the very activity of God within our lives, okay, so now what do I need to let go of to be able to move into that more fully? What is it that I need to forgive? What are some of the resentments, some of the shame, some of the guilt that I may be carrying with me that is making it a little bit tougher for me to move into that new way of being, that new me, that new us that we talk about quite a bit during this time of year. Now, how many of you have heard or have done, maybe some of you are already ready with your luggage at home? There's I think it's a Latin American tradition that at midnight, people are supposed to walk around their house, outside their house with the luggage, and it's supposed to sort of invite travel in the new year. How many of you have heard of it or have done that? Or did my mom just make that up, right? Well, so some of you may be thinking about doing it, right? But let me tell you, energetically, how many of us do that? Because we enter into the new year with a whole lot of baggage, right? With that luggage being really full. So if you're one of those people that has that tradition, make sure you pack lightly. And and let's all make sure that we pack lightly into the new year so that more of what we want can actually fill up that luggage and our experiences and our journey. It is an exciting time of year to be able to move further into what it is that we want to experience, and it takes preparation. So this service today and for the next couple of hours today, I really invite you to go into that. How are you preparing for the new year? How are you removing the obstacles that you may have experienced or that you may be holding that doesn't allow you to fully experience God in every single moment, to fully see God in every single individual, to see God in every single experience that you may be having or that you may be moving through. And so what are the ways in which today, especially today, we can release and let go of the blocks to our abundance, as Shantae speaking about, earlier today about absolute abundance. Absolute abundance is our natural state of being, right? We've just simply forgotten that, and we've created things that have kept us from fully seeing that, knowing that, feeling that, and living into that. And so this is the time right here and right now where we get to ask, what needs to end for me to fully live into my Christhood? What needs to end for me to fully experience the love and the peace and the grace and the joy of God? And I love that, when we talk about God, God is in everything, right? So God is in the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And so God is in the endings of things. God is in that space that is created when we are able to release and let go of something. God is in the clearing that happens in the endings. And God is also in the midst of what we are releasing and letting go of, right? So God is the beginning, is the end, and the in-between. And so all the messy stuff that we may consider the baggage, all the messy stuff that have kept us from playing it bigger and knowing our truth, God is in those experiences also. And the invitation is, how can we ask ourselves, where is God in this? And how is this God's own way of moving us into a greater understanding of what God is in us? Ram Dass says that resentment and that unforgiveness and our desire to not let things go is what keeps us from fully seeing God. He says that the moment that we open our hearts, there's no other way than to experience God in that moment. The moment that we open our hearts, we just see and experience God in great and deep ways. Now, what he says about resentment and forgiveness is that it actually closes our hearts. Doesn't allow the love to flow through. So, see, like our natural state of being is what? Love. Our natural state of being is oneness. Our natural state of being is togetherness, is connection. And the moment that we close off our heart through unforgiveness, through resentments that we may hold, all of a sudden what we're not doing is letting God be God as the love that is within us, asking to be expressed within our life and within us. And so that's what I mean when I say to let go and let God. In order for us to be able to allow God to be God, or our own Christhood to be our own Christhood, we've got to let go of the resentments. We've got to let go of the guilt. We've got to let go of the resentments. We've got to let go of anything that has kept us with our hearts closed. And I know that all of us here in this very room and watching from home, we're loving people. That's our divine nature, and it shows up in really beautiful ways. And I think if you're like me, human, that there are places where our hearts may be closed, relationships where our hearts may be a little bit more closed. And that keeps the energy of God from fully being able to be expressed. Every time that we're faced with someone to whom we've held a grudge with, or even the grudges that we've held about ourselves, how many of us can sometimes find ourselves in resenting the way we reacted? The way that we didn't fully live into our truth. How many of us can move into that space of shame and guilt about, I should have known better. But we get so stuck in the I should have known better that we don't do better. We get so stuck in the I should have done better that we don't allow better to rise up. Ram Dass says, every time you close off something with judgment, it's as if you take a bit of energy and you lock it away and make it unavailable to you, until pretty soon you are exhausted. You don't have any energy because you are so busy. How many of you are done with being busy with the things that no longer serve you? Right? Like, this is the opportunity right now to let it go. There are so many other things that we could be busy with. How about being busy with creating the life of our dreams? How about being busy with creating a peace that surpasses all understanding and rises up not only within our lives, but in the life of every nation, in the life of the world? How about being busy with being agents of heaven here on earth? Those are the things that I want to be busiest with. And I believe that you are also. And so it is time to let go of the other stuff that is taking our time, it is taking our energy, and it is taking us away from fully acknowledging who we have come here to be. Now, it's so interesting to me that some things have been, well, actually, I think I say it's so interesting to me, but I should also just know better, because it happens every single time I'm going to speak about something, right? But I remember in high school, so just a few years ago, I was actually in love with my best friend, Justin. And I can't even tell you what Justin did in high school. He did something that upset me. What I do remember, though, is that I started telling my other friends, you know, I'm just such a forgiving person that I'm already wanting to forgive him, but I've got to show him that it can't be that easy. Even at that age, I knew that it was just easy for me to love, for me to forgive, and yet the ego or the mind was trying to make it harder. Have you been there? Where all of a sudden, like, the ego and the mind is what makes it harder for you to move from one place to the other, even though you know just how easy it could be to move from that one place to the other. Been there, done that? And so I had that experience, and I have to tell you that, one, I can't remember what Justin did, but I can remember what happened as a result of me wanting to keep that resentment and not forgive him. I lost my best friend for about 1.5 years. And, it was high school, so there was all that, high school stuff going on that did. But you think I'd learn better, right? You think I'd learn from that experience, and sometimes I don't. A couple of days ago, after Christmas, my husband and I, we got into a disagreement with my dad. It was a big one, actually. It weighs heavy on me, this fight and disagreement that was had. It was sort of on the peripheral of it, and yet I'm in it, right? And everybody who has seen or expressed or knows a little bit about it, because of course, right, like we get into the story. How many of you have gone into the stories, right? And so we get into the stories, and I find the people that are going to tell me, oh, yeah, no, he's the one that's wrong. He's the one that needs to apologize. He's the one that needs to reach out. And listen, I'm still in the question of that. But what also happened is that 2 days ago, or yesterday, we found out that 2 days ago, a second cousin of mine passed away. And it was somebody that my dad was actually really close to. It was somebody that my dad, especially when I moved back to the U.S. from Ecuador, sort of became almost like another son to my dad. And it actually took me a few hours within myself, so much wasted energy, so much wasted time, so much wasted thinking about, well, wait a minute, I'm supposed to wait until he apologizes to reach out. What happens if I reach out? What do I say? What should I do? How should I be in this situation? And it got me really busy up here and not busy down here. Until the moment that I thought to myself, you know what? This is what I need to not stop. This is what I need to let go of. So I reached out to him with compassion, with empathy, and just to let him know that I was thinking of him, just to let him know that there was love being extended, not only for him, but I was not allowing myself to lock away the love that is meant to be expressed through me. And listen, I did reach out. I am still in the question of how I'm supposed to be in this sort of experience, but I'm in the place this morning of really being grateful that I'm in the question. How many of us don't ask ourselves, how can I be in this? What needs to be let go of? What needs to be released? And where are the areas within my life where there are blocks to me expressing my divine nature and me feeling that divine nature showing up for me also? And so this is a really great time for us to do a self-inventory. Where are the places that we've been holding grudges? Where are the areas where we have not allowed ourselves, even though we want to? There's a part within us that is really, really trying, but some thoughts, some things get in the way. And so is it in your home life? Is there something in your home life that is asking you to just show up as the divine self that you are? Something at work, something about your passions or how you're showing up, living your passion, your relationships, whether those are with loved ones, with family, with friends, with coworkers. How about your relationship with yourself? How have you closed your own heart to yourself and not allowed yourself to heal from the judgment and the guilt? And then also in your spiritual journey, how have you maybe not allowed this year to fully move and evolve and awaken and deepen the experience of God as your life? Now, as you're doing that inventory, and I really am asking you to do it. I love that we're having the burning bowl in just a few hours, so all of you can go home and do this inventory and bring it back to the burning bowl, right? Okay. But there's an opportunity there, however you're wanting to do it, however you're moved to do it, to look at what it is that needs to be let go of and what needs to be forgiven. And before you write off not only relationships, but maybe even the challenges and the issues with the relationship or the challenge at work, what way can we move into that process of releasing and also sit back, look at it, and move to a place of gratitude? What did this bring me? Right? Like, what is it that I can be grateful for in this experience, in this relationship, that will bring me into a place of grace and gratitude and even more openness? If resentment, like Ram Dass says, closes off our hearts, the moment that we allow ourselves to release those resentments, not only does it open our hearts, but it then invites us to gratitude, which opens it up even further. And so what is it that we can be thankful? So that when we close off this year at the end of tonight, instead of saying good riddance, we say thank you. Doesn't a thank you sound so much better and much more powerful than a good riddance? Yes? Yes. And so how can we do that? Spiritual guru Oprah Winfrey says, true forgiveness is when you can say thank you for the experience. So maybe it's not thank you for what happened, but maybe thank you for how you were able to move through it. Maybe it's not thank you for the heartbreak, but thank you for the resilience that you're now able to notice within yourself that can move through any challenge or difficulty that may lie ahead. Maybe it's not a thank you for any of the hurt that has been caused or what happened to you, but the way in which you were able to respond to it and the way that you were able to not close your heart, or maybe close your heart but be in this very moment and say no more. That is what we can be in gratitude for, and our willingness to express the gratitude opens us up to actually seeing the beauty or seeing God in those situations. And our willingness to see God in those situations brings us into an even greater space of gratitude. And so it's like this divine circle that really allows us to feel into our divine truth. And it is a process that will always bring us to a place of peace and power and a place of trust, not only of what was and what is, but what is to be. And so what is to be in 2024? Edwin Gaines says, if we refuse to forgive, we are clinging to self-defeating feelings such as guilt, shame, blame, hurt, and resentment. And when we do this, we cannot feel truly worthy of having the best God can give us. We cannot and will not accept God's gift. How many of you want to accept God's gift in your life in the new year? How many of you know that there are miracles and blessings just around the corner in the new year? Well, then it's time for us to allow ourselves to feel worthy of living into them. We cannot deny someone some part of God's gift that moves through us without denying it of ourselves. The moment that we deny somebody our love, we are denying ourselves the opportunity to embody the love that God is in us. And so this is not only about a freedom or a letting go so that the other person can rise up in our minds, in our thoughts, in our hearts, but this is also the freedom to be God in expression in the world and to know God more deeply. 2024 can be that year, and the end of 2023 can really be the prep work that moves us into that space. So what is being asked of us in these, or what am I asking of you as I'm asking of me in these next few hours, but also in every single time that there are opportunities for forgiveness? The first one to me is always to just be honest. Be honest. What is it that I'm holding from somebody? What is it that I'm holding in a relationship? Where are the spaces where forgiveness is being asked of me? Where are the places that I'm holding resentment? And asking ourselves, have we really let it go? Have we really allowed the very activity of God to move through that experience? And so to be honest with ourselves. Again, the heart, the divinity within us wants to express. The ego and the thought is what sometimes wants to keep us stuck, partly to have control over us and to not allow our divine nature to be what flows from us. And so then the opportunity is then to move into willingness. What are we willing to do in order to release and to let go? How can we stop the ego from keeping us from shutting the place of the heart? And so speaking out that we are willing, and speaking out that we are willing so much that we can take action so that we can move into the next phase, which is to be done with it. To be done with it, to do what it is that we need to do to be done with it. A releasing ceremony like the burning bowl, or maybe other forgiveness work. Like, for example, Edwin Gaines does the 70 times 7 from the Bible verse, where anytime that she feels that there's some forgiveness that needs to be done, she will write down, I forgive so-and-so, whatever their name is, or ourselves, our own name, 70 times for 7 days. There's so many different ways of forgiveness and releasing. Another way maybe is to take time of your day and just ask yourself, who have I kept out of my heart? Who have I shut my heart to today? What experience have I not fully felt God's presence within? And then to bring that to mind, to remember that there is only God, there is only Christ. Each and every one of us are expressions of it. And when we have that vision and that feeling within us, to just simply send thoughts of love. And that can be the Christ within me blesses the Christ within you. The Christ within me sees the Christ within you. Or it can simply be bring those individuals or situations to mind and just as a mantra, love, 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 love. The most important thing is to acknowledge that we are willing and able, and now is the time to let it go. Paulo Coelho says, it is always important to know when something has reached its end. Closing circles, shutting doors, finishing chapters, it doesn't matter what we call it. What matters is to leave in the past those moments in life that are over. What is over is the feeling of guilt and shame. Amen? What is over is keeping yourself from expressing the love that God is through you. Amen? What is over is you thinking that there is anything that can keep you from experiencing a God's abundance and wholeness and love and to embody it more fully. Amen? What is done is our inability sometimes to open our hearts. For our heart is meant to be open. Our heart will push to open itself. And so it's just a matter of us allowing the heart to do what the heart does. I really invite you to move through this time with intention, with attention, and with the understanding that God will be God as we let go. May all your beginnings in 2024 be preceded by beautiful, touching, and life-changing 2023. Namaste. Thank you so much for visiting our YouTube channel. We post new videos every week to keep you positive, present, and inspired to your divinity. Please click on the subscribe button below and also that notification bell. Remember to share this with your friends and your family, those that you know will be inspired just like you have been. And always remember that we love you, that we bless you, that we behold the Christ in you, and we see you doing great things. Thanks and take care.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Positive Spiritual Living Podcast, brought to you by Unity on the Bay, a spiritual community located in Miami, Florida. Unity on the Bay is supported by the generosity of its community. If you'd like to make a donation or learn more about Unity on the Bay, please visit unityonthebay.org. You can also follow Unity on the Bay on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for even more positive spiritual inspiration. Until next time, thanks for listening and many blessings. Namaste.